The Iron Islands is an archipelago in Iron Man's Bay, located in the Sunset Sea off the western coast of Westeros. The main grouping of islands numbers 31, with the 7 major isles being Pike, Great Wick, Old Wick, Harlow, Saltcliffe, Blacktide, and Orkmont. 8 days sail northwest of Great Wick is a smaller grouping of 13 islands clustered around the Lonely Light. Some of the Iron Islands are used for sheep grazing or are uninhabited. The islands are ruled from Pike, the seat of House Greyjoy on the island of the same name. Bastards of noble origin from the Iron Islands receive the surname Pike. The Iron Islands are small, barely fertile rocks with few safe harbors because the seas around the isles are stormy. Maesters believe the Iron Islands were settled by the first man many thousands of years ago. Legends claim that the first man discovered what would be called the sea stone chair, throne made of a block of oily black stone carved into the shape of a kraken upon the shores of Old Wick. There is no evidence the islands were inhabited by children of the forest or giants, and humans worshipped the drowned god instead of the old gods. The drowned men, the priests of the isles, claim the Iron Men are not first men but were created in the image of the drowned god, and they therefore may have a connection with Merlings. Some also suspect that the isles were originally inhabited by the Deep Ones, a dark and wild race of half-man, half-fish creatures who lurked in the depths of the oceans and harassed the coastlands, and that they are the ones who left the sea stone chair behind. Most Ironborn, however, believe that their ancestors were an offshoot of the first men who simply crossed to the isles on boats, where their culture developed differently from their mainland cousins. The ancient first men kept thralls, hinting that the Ironborn were also first men who retained the practice in their isolation. According to legend, the islands were ruled by the Grey King during the Age of Heroes. Grey King was a legendary monarch of the Iron Islands who is said to have ruled for 1070 years. All of the great houses of the islands claim descent from Grey King, including House Greyjoy, with the exception of House Goodbrother, who claim descent from the Grey King's loyal eldest brother. Legends say the Grey King slew the sea dragon Naga, the first sea dragon able to feed on krakens and leviathans, and drown islands when angry. After Grey King killed Naga, the drowned god turned the sea dragon's bones to stone. From the bones was made the Grey King's hall on the shores of the island Old Wick, which Grey King heated with Naga's living fire. He took a mermaid as his wife, so his children could live on land or in water. The Grey King's skin turned as grey as his hair and beard as he ruled over centuries. Eventually he cast aside his driftwood crown and walked into the sea to descend to the watery halls of the drowned god, to take his place at the right hand of the god. The storm god snuffed out Naga's fire after the Grey King's death, and the sea stole his throne, with Naga's bones the only remnants of the Grey King's hall. The Grey King is said to have had 100 sons who fought after his death. The 16 who survived divided the Iron Islands amongst themselves. For much of their history, each island was its own kingdom and had its own kings, a rock king who ruled the land and a salt king who commanded at sea. These petty kings constantly fought with each other and traded the first man of mainland Westeros for timber, crops, and thralls. The islands were first unified when a powerful priest of the drowned man, Galen Whitestaff, decreed it was sinful for Ironborn to make war upon other Ironborn. The other drowned man preached his word throughout the isles until the various kings and longship captains convened on Old Wick at Naga's Bones for the first Kingsmoot to select one High King of the Iron Islands to rule over all. Galen decreed the title was not hereditary, but upon the death of each High King, a new Kingsmoot would be convened to elect another. The new High Kings were also called Driftwood Kings because of their crowns of driftwood. The Kingsmoot ended the petty wars between each of the isles, and with their new unified strength, the High Kings began to conquer other lands instead of just raiding them. Under the rule of King Horrid the Cruel, the Ironborn brought much of the western coast of Westeros under the rule whole of the Iron Island, including lands as far as Bear Island, the Arbor, and Old Town. They were gradually lost by his successors, however, as mainland houses such as the Hightowers, Gardeners, and Lannisters increased in strength. The High Kings came from numerous houses, with most coming from houses Greyjoy, Goodbrother, and especially Grey Iron. The iron price in Ironborn culture refers to warriors acquiring possessions by taking them from defeated adversaries, rather than purchasing items with currency, which is referred to as the gold price. It is closely associated with the Ironborn's old way of raiding and reaving. Thralls and saltwives are acquired only through reaving, never through transactions. Saltwife is a concubine. They are the women kidnapped by the Iron Man during raids. An Ironborn may keep several saltwives, but only one Ironborn rockwife. Saltwives are bound to their captors in a religious ceremony, though it is considered a lesser ceremony than that of their rockwife. The number of saltwives kept by an Iron Man is a symbol of status and virility. Unlike Dornish paramours, saltwives have a low status in the society of the Iron Islands, on the same level of thralls. They are not, however, considered whores or slaves, and their sons can even inherit property or lands. Houses descended from saltwives are looked down by the members of older Ironborn houses. House Greyjoy of Pike. It rules over the Iron Islands from the Seastone Chair in the castle of Pike. The head of the family is traditionally known as the Lord Reaper of Pike. The Greyjoys of Pike claim descent from the Grey King of the Age of Heroes. Legend says the Grey King ruled not only the Western Isles but the sea itself, and took a mermaid to wife. In the era when the Ironborn chose their rulers through the Kingsmoot, only houses Grey Iron and Goodbrother produced more kings than the Greyjoys. The Iron Lords, including the Greyjoys, intermarried with the victorious Andals when they invaded the Iron Islands. King Harren the Black of House Hoar ruled over the lands between the mountains from the Nag to the Blackwater Rush. When Harren and his sons perished in the burning of Harrenhal, Aegon Targaryen granted the Riverlands to Edmund Tully of House Tully. The surviving lords of the Iron Islands fell into chaotic squabbling, leading Aegon to invade the islands to subdue them. After they bent the knee, Aegon allowed them to revive their ancient custom and chose who should have the primacy among them. They chose Lord Vicon Greyjoy of Pike. The Greyjoys have kept themselves distant from the other great houses, rarely taking part in events on the mainland, which they call the Greenlands. At various times, the Greyjoys have tried to return to their ancient practices of raiding the western coastlines. At the beginning of the Dance of the Dragons, the Lord Reaper of Pike, Dalton Greyjoy, was offered the position of Master of Ships to replace Sir Tywin Lannister, who had been made Master of Coin of King Aegon II Targaryen. Dalton, the Rat Kraken, instead sacked Lannisport and sent the Ironborn to raid the coasts, capturing Kais and Fair Castle on Fair Isle. Dalton defied the Iron Throne for 2 years, but he was eventually murdered in Fair Castle. Lord Dagon and the Iron Man later raided the coastal areas of Westeros, sacking the town of Little Dusk. Lord Baron Stark gathered swords, and House Lannister built ships in an effort to drive Lord Dagon and his Iron Man back to the Iron Islands, and Dagon was ultimately unable to resist. Lord Quellan Greyjoy tried to reform the Ironborn and integrate them with the mainland, but he was killed late in Robert's rebellion. His son, Lord Balon Greyjoy, rejected his father's reforms and desired a return to the old way. He created the Iron Fleet and led his own rebellion against the Iron Throne, declaring himself King of the Iron Islands, like many of his ancestors. Despite initiating several strong early strikes, such as burning of the Lannister fleet at anchor, he was defeated. Balon's own fleet under the command of his brother Victarion burned, and his 2 eldest sons, Roderick and Maron, were slain during the war. His last son, Theon, was given as a hostage and ward to Lord Eddard Stark after he swore fealty to House Baratheon of King's Landing. Since Since their revolt, the Greyjoys have been as insular as ever. With Theon living in the Greenlands, Lord Balon raised his daughter as his heir. Balon exiled his brother Euron when he raped the salt wife of their brother Victarion, Lord Captain of the Iron Fleet. Victarion was forced to kill his wife to retain his honor. Since then, Euron has sailed the world aboard the ship named Silence, reaving and pillaging, unwelcome in the Isles while Balon still lives. Another brother, Aeron Damphair, had been changed by his experience of washing overboard during the Battle of Fair Isle and became a priest of the drowned god. Pike is an ancient stronghold. It was originally built on a cliff jutting out into the sea, but over time the cliff has eroded, leaving the castle's towers standing on series of small, barren rock stacks surrounded by water. Since there is no safe anchorage at Pike, those who wish to travel there have to sail to nearby Lordsport. The towers are connected by swaying rope bridges. The keep, its towers, walls, and bridges are made of the same gray-black stone of which the rest of the island is composed. A curtain wall encloses the headland of 50 acres and the cliffs around the foot of the wide stone bridge, which extended out to the largest islet. The stables, kennels, and livestock are located on the headland. The Great Keep, Kitchen Keep, and the Bloody Keep each sit on their own islands. Towers and outbuildings are located on stacks beyond them, linked to each other by covered archways where the pillars stood close, and by long swaying balks of wood and rope where they did not. To get to the sea tower, one must cross 3 bridges, the last of which is made of rope. The Great Keep is massive and caps the largest islet. It is connected to the Bloody Keep by a covered stone walkway. Its long, smoky hall contains the Sea Stone Chair. The Bloody Keep, or Guest Keep, is one of the largest sections of the castle. It lies on its own island, further out than the Great Keep. Its halls are larger and better furnished. It received its name 1,000 years ago when the sons of the River King, Bernar's II Justman, were slaughtered within it, and their pieces returned to their father on the mainland. To get to the Great Keep, one must use a covered stone walkway. The Kitchen Keep sits on its own island. It lies further out from the mainland than the Great Keep. The Sea Tower rises from the outermost island at the far reaches of the island. It is the oldest part of the castle and is round and tall. The base of the tower is white from centuries of salt spray and is crooked. To get from the Great Keep to the Sea Tower, one must cross 3 bridges. The tower contains the solar of Lord Greyjoy. The gatehouse is separated from the Great Keep by a high bridge. The walls of Pike run in a crescent moon from cliff to cliff, with the gatehouse providing entry, located in the center portion of the wall and including an iron portcullis to provide the additional protection should the wall be attacked. There are 3 towers to either side. The southernmost tower is new, made of a paler gray stone, after the old southern tower had been destroyed during Greyjoy's rebellion when King Robert I Baratheon breached the walls. The words of House Greyjoy are, "We do not saw." As much as Greyjoys and other Ironborn would brag about their reaving lifestyle, they simply do not have other choice. Iron Islands are too poor in resources to support the whole population. Sea trading would be another prosperous way of living, and one does not even need to saw in order to trade. Actually, even saying iron price could change its meaning through time by the influence of the Iron Bank, but that is matter of a distant future. Thank you for the attention, and don't forget to subscribe to my Ravens. See ya!